The voicemail I left him was probably pathetic. My hands shook as I held the phone, standing in my cramped apartment at 11 at night, my son finally asleep in the next room. "You were right about everything," I said, my voice cracking. "I'm sorry." I hung up before I could say more, before I could tell him that I was 29 years old, a single mother, broke, exhausted, and completely alone, before I could admit that every warning he'd given me had come true. His name was Bradley. He'd been my client for almost 2 years, coming in every 2 weeks for deep tissue work after he'd started some intense fitness program. Successful guy, probably mid-40s, lived in one of those houses in the nice part of Louisville where the lawns looked like golf courses. The kind of client who paid in cash and tipped well, which I desperately needed. I run my own massage therapy business. Correction. I used to run a thriving massage therapy business. Now I do maybe 3 clients a week while juggling a baby who won't sleep and bills that won't stop coming. But back then, when Bradley was my regular, I thought I had everything figured out. See, I wasn't just good at massage therapy, I was building an empire. At least that's what I told myself. Independent contractor, setting my own hours, charging premium rates because I was worth it. I specialized in sports therapy and had this whole setup where I'd travel to clients' homes with my portable table and essential oils. Professional, sophisticated, a real boss babe, as I used to call myself. The truth is messier. I started the business because I couldn't keep a regular job. Every place I worked, there was always some problem. A manager who didn't appreciate my input, coworkers who couldn't handle direct communication, policies that made no sense. I'd last 6 months, maybe a year, before something would happen and I'd storm out or get let go. My fault? Never. It was always them. My dating history followed the same pattern. Let me paint you a picture of the men I'd been with before everything fell apart. There was Anthony, the physical therapist I dated for 2 years in my early 20s. Good-looking, stable job, treated me well. But he was so passive. Never wanted to try new restaurants. Always deferred to me for decisions. I needed a man who could handle me, who could match my energy. I dumped him via text while he was at his nephew's birthday party. Real classy, right? He's married now, 2 kids, looks happy on Facebook. His wife seems boring. Then came Diego, the CrossFit coach. Now he had energy. Competitive, driven, ambitious. We lasted 8 months before it imploded. The problem? He was too competitive. Everything became a contest. Who worked harder? Who made more money? Who had the better business model? When I suggested improvements to his gym's booking system, he told me to focus on my little massage thing. The fight that ended us was epic. His gym was hosting a competition, and I'd spent weeks preparing to compete in the women's division. I wasn't just good. I was going to destroy those CrossFit soccer moms who thought they were athletes. The morning of the competition, Diego pulled me aside. "Maybe you should consider the scaled division," he said, not meeting my eyes. Scaled? I can do every movement at RX weight. It's just the other women competing, they're at a different level. Lisa just qualified for regionals. Sarah's been doing this for 5 years. I don't want you to embarrass yourself. Embarrass myself? I saw what this was really about. He didn't want me to potentially beat his precious regular girls, the ones who paid his bills. He didn't want his girlfriend showing up the women he flirted with all day. "You're scared I'll beat them," I said. He laughed. Actually laughed. "Babe, be realistic." I competed anyway. Came in dead last. Not just last, embarrassingly last. Still had 2 rounds left when everyone else finished. The whole gym watching as I struggled with weights the other women threw around like toys. Diego had to stop me before I hurt myself, right there in front of everyone. I showed him by sleeping with his business partner that night. Keith, who'd always said I was too good for Diego, who appreciated my business advice, who didn't laugh when I shared my goals. The gym closed 6 months later after Keith and Diego's partnership exploded. I told myself it was karma. Nathan was the longest. 3 years of my mid-20s wasted on a guy who sold medical equipment. He made decent money, around $70,000 a year, had his own condo, talked about marriage. But decent wasn't enough. I had this vision of the life I deserved. Travel photos in Santorini, a house with a pool, a husband who made real money, 6 figures at least. Nathan bought me flowers from the grocery store and thought date night at Olive Garden was romantic. The proposal was what killed it. He'd planned this whole thing, betrayal, something. My family, his family, a private dining room at some mid-tier steakhouse. I should have seen it coming. He'd been acting nervous for weeks, asking weird questions about ring preferences. I'd shown him photos of 2-carat solitaires, explicitly said anything under $10,000 was insulting. He got down on one knee between the appetizers and entrees, in front of both our mothers, holding out a box from K Jewelers. When he opened it, I saw that ring. Maybe 1/2 carat, probably cost him $3,000 max. And I just lost it. I laughed. Not a polite chuckle, but a real laugh. The kind that echoes in a quiet room. "Is this a joke?" I asked, still sitting while he knelt there. "Nathan, seriously, where's the real ring?" His face went from hopeful to confused to devastated in 3 seconds. Both mothers sat frozen. His sister started recording, probably thinking she was capturing a magical moment. This is the real ring," he stammered. "I saved for 6 months." 6 months? For this? I held up the box like it was contaminated. "Nathan, the engagement rings I showed you cost more than your car." "My car's paid off," he said quietly, still on one knee like an idiot. "I thought you'd want us to start our marriage without debt." I stood up, grabbed my purse. "There's not going to be a marriage." "Not with someone who thinks this is acceptable." The last thing I heard as I walked out was his mother saying, "Let her go, honey. You deserve better." Nathan called for weeks. Texts about how he could exchange the ring, how we could look together, how he just wanted me to be happy. I blocked him on everything. Posted on social media about knowing your worth and not settling for less. My followers loved it. "Yes, queen," they commented. "Never settle." When he proposed with a ring that was maybe 1/2 carat, I laughed, actually laughed. The look on his face still haunts me sometimes. But at 27, I was confident I could do better. I had my business, my looks, I spent 2 hours at the gym every day, and my standards. I knew my worth. That's when Bradley started trying to help me. It began innocently enough. During our sessions, I'd vent about dating while I worked on his shoulders. He'd listen, occasionally asking questions. I thought he was just being polite, maybe even interested. He wasn't wearing a ring. One day, after I'd spent 20 minutes complaining about the latest loser from a dating app, the guy showed up in a Honda Civic. Can you imagine? Bradley spoke up. "Can I ask you something?" he said, face down on the table. "What exactly are you looking for?" I rattled off my list. Successful, 6 figures minimum, over 6 feet tall, fit, ambitious, well-traveled, cultured. Someone who could match my lifestyle and energy. "And how old?" "My age, maybe a few years older, 32 max." He was quiet for a moment. "That's a pretty specific list." "I know what I deserve," I said, digging my elbow into a knot in his back, maybe a little harder than necessary. That's when the conversation started. Bradley would gently push back on my expectations. Did I know what percentage of men in their late 20s made 6 figures? Had I considered that guys with those qualities had options? What did I bring to the table besides demands? I hated those conversations. Who was he to question me? Some middle-aged guy who probably couldn't get a woman like me if he tried. But he was a good client and I needed the money, so I'd argue back while keeping it professional. The birthday incident happened about a year into our working relationship. I'd been complaining for weeks about how pathetic my life was, how I was almost 29 with no real friends, no relationship, nothing. My birthday was coming up and I had no plans. Nobody to celebrate with. Bradley offered to take me out. "Just dinner," he said. "As a friend." I should have said no. But the thought of spending another birthday alone, scrolling through Instagram watching other people have fun, was too depressing. So I agreed. The restaurant was nice, too nice for a pity dinner with white tablecloths and a wine list that didn't have prices. But the moment we sat down, I found problems. The hostess had an attitude. The table was too close to the kitchen. The server took too long to greet us. "This is unacceptable," I told the server when he finally appeared. "We've been sitting here for 5 minutes." Bradley tried to smooth things over, but I was already worked up. When the server apologized, I demanded to speak to a manager. When the manager came, I listed every failing of their establishment. Other diners were staring. Bradley looked like he wanted to disappear. "Enough," he said quietly, after the manager had apologized for the 3rd time and offered us free appetizers. "They're trying to help." "Let it go." "Let it go. I'm not paying these prices for subpar service." "Then we'll leave." He stood up, pulled out his wallet, left a $100 bill on the table. "I apologize," he told the manager. "Please, keep the change." I followed him out, furious. In the parking lot, he turned to face me. "This is why you're alone," he said. Not cruelly, just matter of fact. "You create conflict everywhere you go. You demand perfection while offering criticism. You want a high-value man but behave like a child." I slapped him. Right there in the parking lot, I slapped my best-paying client across the face. He didn't react, just got in his car and drove away. I stood there shaking, not from regret, but from rage. How dare he? A week later, after I'd calmed down and realized I'd just lost $300 every 2 weeks, I reached out to apologize. He accepted my apology, kept booking sessions, but something had shifted. He was purely professional now, no more personal talk. Until I brought it up again. 3 months after the birthday disaster, I was desperate. My 20s were ending, my biological clock was screaming, and I'd been on dozens of failed dates. So during a session, I asked for his advice. "I just want to settle down," I said, working on his calves. "Find a good man, have a family." But every guy I meet is either broke, ugly, or boring. What am I doing wrong? He was quiet for so long I thought he'd fallen asleep. Then, "What's your income requirement?" $150,000 minimum. For a guy in his 20s? Early 30s, maybe. Because of your equestrian hobby? I stiffened. Yes, I had a horse. Yes, boarding and care cost me almost $2,000 a month. But that was non-negotiable. Horses were my passion, my escape, my identity. I'd been riding since I was 12, competed in college. No man was worth giving that up. A guy making that money could hire 2 full-time baristas to cater to his every need, Bradley said. Why would he choose someone who argues with waiters and demands perfection? The rage bubbled up again. Because I'm worth it. I'm fit, I'm attractive, I run my own business. You could find a nice firefighter or cop. They make good money, $80,000 a year, stable, benefits, pension. 80 grand? I laughed. That's poverty wages. Then you need to adjust your expectations. A man in his 50s, maybe. Established, divorced, kids grown. Someone named Carl or Chuck, belly hanging over his belt, bald spot he covers with a baseball cap. He'd probably treat you well, pay for your horse, ignore your attitude because he's just happy to have a younger woman. I dropped the massage oil bottle. It hit the floor with a clatter, spilling everywhere. Get out, I said. This is my house. Then I'm leaving. I packed up my table in record time, hands shaking with fury. A fat, old, bald man? That's what he thought I deserved? I was 29, not 49. I had options. I'm trying to help you, he said as I struggled with the door, table banging against the frame. Reality doesn't care about your feelings. I left without another word, deleted his number, blocked him on everything. Found out later he told mutual acquaintances that I'd gotten emotional and ended our professional relationship. Made me sound unstable, typical man, twisting the narrative. For 3 months, I threw myself into proving him wrong. Dating apps, speed dating, networking events. I was going to find my perfect man and rub it in Bradley's smug face. That's how I met Devin. 28 years old, personal trainer at an upscale gym, body like a Marvel character. Exactly the kind of guy who should appreciate a woman like me. We matched on an app where I'd specifically filtered for height, age, and education level. His messages were flirty, cocky, exactly what I thought I wanted. Our first date was at a rooftop bar. He showed up 15 minutes late, but when I saw him, I forgave everything. 6'2", shoulders that filled out his fitted Henley, that confident walk that said he knew every woman in the place was looking. This was the caliber of man I deserved. The sex happened on the second date. He invited me to his apartment. Turned out to be a studio he shared with a roommate, but I overlooked that. Overlooked the mattress on the floor, the empty fridge, the bathroom that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. Because when he touched me, I felt validated, chosen. This absolute specimen wanted me. I ignored every red flag. The way he'd only text after midnight, how he never took me on real dates, just invited me over. The other women's hair ties I'd find in his bathroom, the calls he'd decline while we were together. I told myself it was early days, that he'd commit once he realized what he had. The pregnancy test turned positive on a Tuesday morning. I stared at those 2 lines until they blurred, my hands shaking. This wasn't the plan. But maybe this was how it was meant to happen. A baby would change everything. Devin would step up, see this as a sign. We'd be a family. I texted him a photo of the test. No response. Called 6 times, straight to voicemail. Drove to his apartment that night to find he'd moved out. His roommate, clearly uncomfortable, told me Devin had left for a job opportunity in Miami. Left that morning, actually. Funny how opportunities pop up right when you need them. My parents were mortified. My father, who I'd barely spoken to since high school because of his toxic traditional values, actually laughed when I told him. My mother cried. My younger sister, married to a plumber I'd mocked at family dinners, offered to help. I was too proud to accept. I kept the baby out of spite more than anything. Some misguided idea that I'd show them all. I'd be a boss babe, single mom. Women did it all the time on Instagram, looking flawless with designer diaper bags and babies in coordinated outfits. How hard could it be? Turns out impossible. The pregnancy destroyed my business. Morning sickness meant canceling clients. The smells of my essential oils made me vomit. I couldn't lie face down on tables to demonstrate techniques at the massage therapy conferences I used to attend. Clients don't want a massage therapist who has to take bathroom breaks every 20 minutes. My son was born on a Wednesday. I named him Devin Jr., thinking maybe his father would come back if he knew he had a namesake. He didn't. The child support office couldn't find him. Number disconnected, social media deleted, like he'd never existed except for this tiny human who had his eyes. The horse had to go first. $2,000 a month is a lot when you're buying diapers and formula. I sobbed at the stable, begging them to give me more time. The stable owner, a woman who'd known me for 10 years, looked at me with pity. "You should have thought of this before," she said. Then the apartment. I'd lived alone since college, prided myself on not needing roommates, but babies are expensive, and clients don't want to hear screaming during their relaxation massage. I moved back in with my parents, at 30, with a baby, in the basement. My father didn't say, "I told you so." He didn't have to. The look on his face every morning when I emerged sleep-deprived and covered in spit-up said everything. My mother tried to help, but her help came with commentary. "Maybe if you'd been less picky, That nice Anthony asked about you at the store. Your sister's husband has a brother." I lasted 6 months before I got my own place. A studio apartment in a building that smelled like old carpet and broken dreams. 700 square feet for me and a baby who wouldn't stop crying. The massage table took up half the living room. I'd see clients while my son napped, praying he'd stay quiet for 50 minutes. That's when I broke. Tuesday night, baby screaming, bills piled on the counter, looking at my phone and seeing a photo from high school on Facebook. A girl I'd bullied for dating a loser who worked construction. They had a house now, 3 kids, vacation photos from Disney. She looked happy. I scrolled through my contacts looking for anyone who might hire me. My thumb hovered over Bradley's number. Still there, never deleted despite my rage. The man who'd tried to warn me, who'd offered me reality on a silver platter while I'd thrown it back in his face. The voicemail was short. I couldn't bring myself to give details. Just that he was right, and I was sorry. Then I hung up and cried, until the baby's cries drowned out mine. He texted back the next morning. "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" I stared at that message for an hour, typed and deleted a dozen responses, finally sent back, "No." But thank you, because what could I say? That I was a 30-year-old single mother with a failed business and a studio apartment? That I'd gladly date a bald Chuck or Carl now if they'd help with rent? That I'd give anything to go back and accept that firefighter's salary, that cop's stability, that boring accountant's devotion? My son is 2 now. I work at a spa owned by someone else, making a third of what I used to charge. My boss is 24, fresh out of school, talks to me like I'm an idiot. I smile and take it, because I need the job. Daycare costs more than rent. My parents watch him when they can, my sister more than she should. I see Bradley sometimes. He joined the spa as a member, though I know there are better places closer to his house. He requests other therapists, which I understand, but he nods when we pass in the hall. Professional, polite, the boundaries I created with my ego intact. Last week was the worst. I was covering reception because they don't trust me with the good clients anymore when Bradley walked in with her. The girlfriend. Elementary school teacher, just like he'd mentioned. Pretty in that natural way that doesn't need contouring or extensions. She wore a simple sundress and flat sandals. Engagement ring catching the light. Cushion cut, at least 2 carats, exactly what I'd dreamed of. "Oh, you must be Amanda," the other receptionist gushed. "Bradley's told us so much about you. Congratulations on the engagement." She blushed, actually blushed, and thanked her. Then she saw me. Our eyes met for a moment, and I saw recognition. Bradley must have told her about me, the difficult client who'd slapped him for telling the truth. "Ready for your couples massage?" the receptionist continued. Bradley booked the deluxe package with champagne and chocolates. A couples massage. In the spa where I made $12 an hour folding towels and answering phones. With champagne I couldn't afford and chocolates my son had never tasted because organic fruit pouches were cheaper. "Actually," Amanda said softly, touching Bradley's arm, "would it be possible to request specific therapists?" I heard Kai and Jessica are wonderful. She was being kind, making sure I wouldn't have to massage the man I'd rejected while his fiancé lay on the next table. Bradley nodded, understanding immediately. "Of course," he said. Then he looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in 2 years. "How are you, Vanessa?" "Great," I lied, fingers trembling on the keyboard. "Never better." Amanda smiled at me, genuine and warm. "It's nice to meet you." Bradley mentioned you're very talented. Talented! Not difficult, not delusional, not the woman who demanded perfection while offering chaos. Just talented. I wanted to cry. After they walked away, the other receptionist leaned over. "Lucky woman? Bradley's one of the good ones. Heard he's taking her to Bora Bora for the honeymoon." Bora Bora. Where I'd always dreamed of honeymooning with my 6-figure husband. Now I couldn't even afford a weekend at the local Holiday Inn. I went home that night and looked at my son, really looked at him. This little person who deserved better than a mother who'd thrown away stability for fantasy, who'd rejected good men for the dream of a perfect one, who'd slapped away the truth because it didn't match her inflated self-image. Bradley was right. I could have had a firefighter, a cop, A regular guy with a regular job who would have loved me despite my flaws. Instead, I held out for a unicorn and got pregnant by a ghost. Now I'm everything I used to mock. Poor, struggling, desperate. The other single moms at daycare try to befriend me. We could support each other, they say, share babysitting. But I see the judgment in their eyes, or maybe I'm projecting my own. These women who got married young to mechanics and mailmen, who drive sensible cars and coupon clip, who seem happy despite having everything I thought I was too good for. Sometimes I dream about what Bradley's Carl would look like. 55, maybe. Belly soft from years of beer and contentment. Bald spot he doesn't bother hiding anymore. Divorced, kids in college, lonely enough to overlook a sharp tongue and another man's child. Would he take me to chain restaurants, buy grocery store flowers, snore next to me in a queen bed in a modest house in the suburbs? God, it sounds like paradise. But those Carls want sweet women. Grateful women. Women who don't criticize the waitstaff or demand perfection or carry grudges like designer handbags. They want women who never slapped them in parking lots for telling the truth. My phone buzzes. Another client canceling, the 4th this week. Word travels in this business. The difficult massage therapist with the bad attitude and the baby daddy drama. The one who used to think she was too good for everyone. The cautionary tale. I put my son to bed and sit in my studio apartment, scrolling through social media. Anthony's wife posted about their anniversary. Diego's gym is thriving under new management. Nathan got engaged to someone who probably loves his half-carat rings and Olive Garden dates. And me? I'm learning that reality doesn't care about what you think you deserve. It gives you what you choose. And I chose this. Every arrogant, delusional, prideful step of the way. Bradley tried to tell me. I just wasn't ready to listen. Now, in the silence broken only by my son's breathing and the neighbors fighting upstairs, I finally understand. The joke was never on the women who settled. It was on me for thinking I was above settling at all. My son coughs in his sleep, a dry little sound from the portable crib set up 5 feet from my bed. I go to check on him, adjusting the thin blanket. He turns his head, and even in the dim light from the street lamp outside, I can see his father's profile, that same arrogant, perfect jawline that I fell for. I feel a sudden cold flash of anger, so sharp it makes me pull my hand back. It's not his fault, he's just a baby. But I look at him, and all I see is the man who got away, the man who ruined me. I close my eyes, forcing the feeling down. Tomorrow, I'll go to work and smile at my young boss. I'll be grateful, I'll be kind. But I know deep down that the person who threw it all away is still right here. And she's just looking for someone else to blame.